You know, we're pretty dang close to the end of this macro cycle. And it's been a long, glorious one for the people in this country. It's coming to an end. And whenever that happens, you have people who will never agree or believe that it's happening until, bang, you wake up and what the hell just happened? And that's what I think is coming. So it will come to a point where it will be revalued. It will be revalued. Not only is it ironic, or maybe it's not, that it's held in the gold revaluation account, but when the most well-funded and well-informed traders on the globe, these central banks, go on a multi-year buying spree that is unparalleled in history and take the very unconventional step of giving it back. Give me my gold back from the Bank of England and the New York Fed, which are the two epicenters of rule of law stability and access to the trading hubs. That also tells me that the COMEX and the Bank of England, or the LBMA, are dead.
Recent reports reveal a staggering reality. In 2023, China refined 100% of all rare earth metals, while 75 to 80% of these vital resources were sourced from the Eurasian continent. This dependency underscores a critical vulnerability in Western economies that Andy Schectman believes could trigger an unprecedented economic shift. With China and BRICS nations strategically accumulating gold and reducing reliance on the US dollar, the stage is set for a seismic repricing of assets. Gold prices are surging as the dollar weakens, raising a crucial question. Is the era of dollar dominance coming to an end? As central banks worldwide repatriate their gold reserves and prepare for a new economic order, the implications for investors are profound. Schectman suggests that the financial landscape is on the brink of transformation, one that could reshape the value of currencies and commodities. These moves, including the accumulation of gold by countries like India, signal a strategic shift away from traditional Western financial systems.
You know, the G7 countries, the United Kingdom just published a report saying that basically we are at the behest of mostly China and the Eurasian continent for so many of our things that we need, natural resources that we don't have. So is the West. And if you look at like rare earths, this green agenda that everyone's going on in the European Union and here, 100% of all the rare earth metals, 100% were refined in China last year. 75 to 80% were produced or accumulated or mined in the Eurasian continent. So countries like the United Kingdom, which are now replacing everyone else in bond holdings, they're outpacing most of the other countries, including China. They're buying more of our treasury. So you have a broke country, the United Kingdom, buying the bonds of an even more broke country, the United States, and the proceeds that we get from the sale of the bonds to the United Kingdom, which, by the way, Jim Willey says the Fed is just paying the UK under the table to buy those bonds. I can't vouch for that, but I know he believes it. And we take the proceeds of those just to pay the interest on the debt that we already have and to buy commodities from the BRICS nations, who then take the proceeds and normally would reinvest them into treasuries, but instead they're buying gold. And so gold goes higher as the dollar and the pound falls further. They're the ones that produce and accumulate and refine all of the natural resources. We're the dummies who deal in opaque debt instruments. So where does it go? Look, the head of the Dutch National Bank has said it very well. He talks about the fact that their balance sheet is underwater, but it's okay because we have the gold revaluation account. Now, for those people who don't know what that means, on every central bank balance sheet across the globe, it is held in an account called the gold revaluation account. Can't make it up. You have a balance sheet. Things are supposed to balance. As it is right now, the central banks are not allowed to offset a liability with their gold. So if they have gold on the asset side, they'll have the exact same amount in the revaluation account on the liability side. They balance each other out. Gold is valued on all of those central bank balance sheets at $35 an ounce. Still the Bretton Woods number. They never revalued it. So he talks about the fact that all they would have to do would be to revalue gold to some high level, and it would then offset all of their liabilities. At the same time, all of these countries have been buying gold. They've been accumulating debt. So who's to say that they don't revalue gold? I mean, hey, right over my shoulder there, that's what Roosevelt did in '33 with all the gold he confiscated. He devalued the dollar by 40%. And up went gold. What are all these people talking about? The dollar devaluation. Even Trump and his new VP are talking about devaluing the dollar. And his presumptive head of the Fed would be Judy Shelton is a gold bug and a gold advocate. gold backing the currency. All of these things come into play, but how high does it go? I think gold will go higher than anyone ever thinks possible. And it will be pegged to a new system and it will never come back down. Jim Sinclair used to say that all the time. Jim Rickards is saying $27,000 was the math he came up with. Even put it at $10,000. At $10,000, your balance sheet goes from putrid to pristine just like that. And it is what it is. The price is what someone will pay. Look at silver in Hong Kong or in Shanghai right now is $4 an ounce higher than in the West. And all of that silver is being arbitraged over. There was a new report that Vince Lancy just came out with talking about how China is buying all of the silver before it's even refined in South America. And they're paying way more than anyone else in the West. And they're gobbling up all of it at a higher premium before the West can even have any idea. And it doesn't affect the price because they're buying it before it's refined. And they do the refining back in China. So how high does it go? Peter, I think it goes higher than anyone ever thinks possible. And I'll tell you this, the most well-funded traders on the globe, yeah, that's the central banks, but they're also the most well-informed. And they know where this is going. And the fact that they're all buying it, the fact that they're all repatriating, to your point, it isn't a trade, it is the future. And the fact that the most powerful bank in the world reclassifies it as the only other tier 1 asset is massive. And it doesn't need to be trusted. It is trust. It is an asset that has no counterparty liability. So how high does it go? Higher than anyone thinks possible. Because if you look at a 40% backing, that means you have 60% monetary authority. You can manipulate and do your things in a monetary way with 60% of the currency. So you still have latitude to create money, to do all of these things, but within reason. But in order to make that work at 40%, gold will have to be much higher. So what we've been seeing over the past since 2017 is massive accumulation. Again, think of how the BIS did tier 1. They gave these countries 3 years head start to bring it home and accumulate it before they announced it. And now you see all of the banks doing it again, buying more than ever and repatriating more than ever. And then lo and behold, the BIS is behind Project Enbridge, and the unit token says the gold will be held within the own borders. So once they all have accumulated it all, and not enough to where the Western media talks about it so that the big money in the West can buy up all the gold and crowd everyone out of their trades. No, that's not how it works, because we're the sheep and we're being led to slaughter. Only the few people who have eyes open enough and dig and have the ability to think outside the box, to respect and understand normalcy and recency bias, but also have a broad enough horizon, a broad enough viewpoint to say, well, we're pretty dang close to the end of this macro cycle. And it's been a long, glorious one for the people in this country. It's coming to an end. And whenever that happens, you have people who will never agree or believe that it's happening until, bang, you wake up and what the hell just happened? And that's what I think is coming. So it will come to a point where it will be revalued. It will be revalued. Not only is it ironic, or maybe it's not, that it's held in the gold revaluation account, but when the most well-funded and well-informed traders on the globe, these central banks, go on a multi-year buying spree that is unparalleled in history and take the very unconventional step of giving it back. Give me my gold back from the Bank of England and the New York Fed, which are the two epicenters of rule of law stability and access to the trading hubs. That also tells me that the COMEX and the Bank of England, or the LBMA, are dead. They're dead in the water, because as Shanghai just has outpaced and become the second most influential trading hub on the planet, you'll see the LBMA get usurped by that as well. And all of a sudden, when the realization that an entity like the LBMA can trade 200 million ounces of gold per day, they say 20 million, and they say 292 million ounces of silver per day, but they say those numbers are 10% understated because they only show the final 10 times understated, because they only show the final settlement, not all the trades that went to get to that final settlement. That means they're trading 3 billion ounces of silver per day. That's 3.5 times annual global mine supply. 200 million ounces of gold per day. And 99% of it is all fugazi. It's all paper, cash paper derivatives that have nothing to do with the real metal behind it. And there will come a point when all of these countries who have been using that fugazi manipulation of the Western prices to make the Western system and the Western bond market seem stronger than they are for all of these years, they will say, that's the same group that put oil at negative $40 a barrel. That's the same group that's been suppressing all the metals for all these years. You know what? It's a scam. Just like Bernie Madoff was really great and everyone wanted to be part of it until someone said, give me back my money, and then it became a problem. Well, that's what's happening right now. All of these countries realize what's going on and they're repatriating all of their metal while they still can, but buying it using the suppression of the Western paper market against us. It's jiu-jitsu, using your opponent's leverage against them. And just like the new BRICS grain exchange, which was just founded, they came out and they said, look, we produce more wheat, the BRICS nations do, than the West, and we consume all of this, yet we don't have the ability to control its prices because it's all controlled on COMEX. They know what we're doing and they're using it against us through accumulation, but first repatriate it before it's too late. Before what happened to Venezuela by the Bank of England happens to all of them, where the Bank of England said, nah, we're not gonna give it back to you. Sorry, you left it here, you trusted us with it, but no. Just like they're doing to Russia right now, just like we're doing to Russia and the European Union. So my point to you is simply this: higher, Peter, than anyone ever thinks possible. And you have to be able to look at the crumbs. Yeah, they're not going to make it easy for you, but if you just look at the crumbs, the biggest money that knows the playbook is wickedly accumulating it, using the suppression of the Western market to run cover. But when a country like India, who's had 100 metric tons at the Bank of England since 1991, says, give me back my gold, and then buys 1.5 times the amount they did all of last year, which was a record year, and give me that too, that should be all you need to see, along with Saudi Arabia, Egypt, and all those African countries over the last several weeks doing it from the Fed, the bank, the New York Fed.